Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the new classical alphabet. Instead of the three B's, it's going to be the three, every single letter in the alphabet. We've done the A's, and now we're at the B's, actually, but it's not the usual three B's. No, that would be so dreary. It's not Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms. Are you ready for the three B's? Number one, Buxtehude, Dietrich Buxtehude. And with each of these, as I did in the A's, we're going to have a featured recording or series of recordings or something so that you can get a sense of how to listen. Now, Dietrich Buxtehude lived from 1637 to 1707. He was the major German composer, or one of them, before Bach. And Bach admired him hugely and walked to Lübeck. He was in Lübeck. To hear him and learn from him and do Lübeckian things. Everybody knows the story about Buxtehude. It's even more famous than his music, which was that Buxtehude had a deal that whoever took his job had to marry his daughter. I'm doing this quickly because we said it so many times. Had to marry his daughter. Her name was Anna. And everybody went and auditioned for the job and then saw what they had to do to get the job and left. Until finally, Johann Schieferdecker decided he would bite the bullet and marry Anna Buxtehude and take the job, at which point Lübeck ceased to be a musical destination of any note. Such are the vagaries of music history. Anyway, Buxtehude wrote stuff that Bach wrote. He wrote church cantatas, mostly liturgical music. When I was in high school, we did a beautiful little Magnificat by Buxtehude that was what introduced me to his music. But he was also very well known as a keyboardist, an organist particularly, and it was Buxtehude's toccatas and fugues and preludes and fugues and things like that, and chorale preludes and whatnot that really inspired Bach in his organ music. And so as my Buxtehude introductory disc, I know the organ is sort of a thing that repels some people, but get some of his organ music. There's a wonderful set of the complete organ works by Friedhelm Flamme on CPO records. You can get individual volumes or you can get a box, but it's well worth hearing. I mean, his organ music is extremely beautiful and fresh and exciting and virtuosic, and it's really quite something. So Buxtehude is a name. Next, the next B, Franz Berwald. Yeah, I mean, Berwald is one of those composers who sort of exists on the fringes of the repertoire. He wrote 4 symphonies, one of which had to be reconstructed from a piano score, and it may not be terribly typical. We don't know what shape it's in, but 3 of them are marvelous. And the most famous of them is number 3, the Symphony Singulière, which is absolutely one of the glories of the early Romantic repertoire. I mean, it's right up there with like Schumann and Mendelssohn. It's from the same period, around the 1840s or so. And it's an incredible work, totally special and unique in 3 movements, formally incredibly interesting, full of good tunes. And the recording to get is with the Malmö Symphony Orchestra under Sixten Ehrling on Bis. It comes in a 2 CD set with all the symphonies, and you might as well hear them all. But he also wrote tone poems, very early examples of tone poems, like before Liszt wrote tone poems, and also fabulous chamber music. His septets, his piano trios, string quartets, just lovely, lovely works. He was Swedish. Then he became a mushroom farmer, and then he was like an orthopedist or something in Germany. He had all kinds of jobs. But his music is quite special and really worth getting to know. So he is another one of the B's. Now, one of the things I really like about this particular group of 3 B's is that it really covers a wide range. You've got your Baroque, your early Romantic, and your contemporary, or relatively contemporary. And the relatively contemporary one is Bartók. Of course, it has to be Bartók. He was always a major name. He's a major name in 20th century music, one of the outstanding, figures in all of 20th century music. And, he's a little bit on the outs now. He's not getting as much play or attention as he used to, which is, only normal because he got a lot, particularly because of his 6 string quartets. They were considered the ne plus ultra of modern string quartet writing, and they are magnificent. especially the middle ones, 3, 4, and 5, which are just like incredible. But he wrote a lot of other absolutely spectacular music. On the one hand, there's the Concerto for Orchestra. On the other hand, there are modernist masterpieces like the Miraculous Mandarin or the music for strings, percussion, and celesta. I mean, he was really an extraordinary combination of passion with very strictly controlled form. And if you like form, I love form. I'm a form whore, as I've said many times. And you like expression yoked to a really powerful control of form, you're going to love Bartók. And the recording that I suggest that you sample to sort of get your Bartókian bearings is the disc of his 3 piano concertos, featuring Zoltán Kocsis, the amazing Hungarian pianist, the Budapest Festival Orchestra with Iván Fischer on Decca/Phillips. Now, the piano concerti are the ideal introduction to Bartók, I think, because you get the full range of what he did, other than his very early sort of late Romantic Nationalist period. The first piano concerto is an avant-garde work. It's not hard to listen to, but it's extraordinarily powerful in its handling of the piano as a percussion instrument. It's a lot of martellato, as they say, like a hammer, where you treat the piano almost in a purely rhythmic sense, with tunes drawn from Hungarian folk music, a strong emphasis on percussion instruments, which have an independent concertante existence within the orchestra and accompany the piano in all kinds of interesting ways. The second piano concerto is one of those pieces that shows his fabulous sense of form. It's composed in arch form, which was a favorite of Bartók. That is 5 movements or 5 sections, because some movements have multiple sections that go, well, in this case, you've got a quick movement, then a slow movement with a fast middle section, then a return of the slow section, and then a fast finale. And everything is thematically interrelated, and the orchestra is broken up into individual sections. It's just piano and winds in the first movement, mostly strings and timpani with piano in the second movement. Woodwinds come in the middle section. And then the finale, everybody comes together for the first time, and it's a rondo with interludes based on the themes of the previous movements. I mean, it's just an amazing piece of music. And then finally, the third piano concerto, which comes from his late period. The last few bars had to be completed by one of his pupils. He died before he orchestrated them, but the work is complete. It was composed for his wife to perform because he was dying of leukemia, and he wanted her to have a work that she could take on tour. He was a really moral, humane person in that sense. And the third piano concerto really sort of reveals something of it. It's sweetly lyrical, much of it. It's not... the harmonic idiom is much simpler. The tunes are much more romantically flavored, but it's still recognizably Bartók. I mean, it's absolutely exquisitely shaped and a gorgeous work. And having all 3 on one disc, which is how you can usually get them, is a fabulous overview of his work as one of the great masters of classical music. I mean, he's a major B. And if music history hadn't been largely German, they could have stuffed him in there instead of Brahms any day. He's really that good. He's one of the great, great, great geniuses in Western music. And so, the 3 Bs, Buxtehude, Berwald, and Bartók. I think that's a very interesting selection for you to sink your teeth into. And if you want to suggest your own 3 Bs, who are not the usual ones, please feel free to chime in. I've seen your contributions to the A's, and I know you folks are up for it. You are ready to rock. So let's give the universe a fabulous list of alternative 3 Bs. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.